Hi, this is Julie, and this is my mock interview. First, this is my artwork called Choices, and the illusion of the cups represent how I thought there's numerous choices in life, and the similarities of each cup further emphasize how so much things are related on one thing, and therefore harder to choose from them. I was inspired to make this after summer vacation when I felt the need to express my worldview at that time. Um, with the use of pencil crayons and watercolors, I used splashes of color to further show diverse color choices. I don't think it's my strongest work because the spacing is pretty unbalanced and the cups looks like they're sort of floating in the air. But from this project, I learned from my mistakes and I learned to focus more on the composition before starting my studio work. And I started this from August to September 2012. Next is my artwork called painting called High School Bag. This painting expressed how I'm a student who feels the stressful weight weighting down at me like my backpack. The sharp teeth, zipper hair, slanted eyebrows are some of the elements that shows the stressfulness of a high school student. Planets and just the whole galaxy are like were depicted to capture my emotions. The adventurous background of the galaxy is really where I want to be and really enjoy exploring around. And because I can't do that, I'm pretty stressed out, and that's clearly evident in my backpack. As for the materials, I use separate watercolor paper on top of the canvas for several reasons. This is mainly because Femke Hemstra, the artist who I'm imitating, frequently draws her objects animated like and unrealistically and keeps the background very hyper realistic. I thought using acrylic background will give off the hyper realistic vibe, whereas the watercolored based crayons will give the backpack more childish and animated look. Secondly, the material itself fits to the theme's dress because, like the material the backpack doesn't belong in the space. In this case, watercolor paper doesn't fit to the canvas. Um, Furthermore, I think this artwork reflects the Korean culture I live in. It's mainly because I created this artwork because of the stress I get from the expectation of strict Korean society that really condemns me from doing my things freely. Um, Lastly, another pro for this painting is the fact that I traced my workbook plan well, and the composition really reflected well to my studio work. And I started this from October to November 2012. Next is my ceramic sculpture called Windy Days. I'm generally pleased with the outcome of the sculpture because it again corresponds to the design I made prior to sculpting the actual project. The steps I took to the final stage were very complicated. I first molded the clay into a giant cone in the middle, as you can see, and I made several little other branches, and then I made a hole inside of the big cone to stick them inside while scoring and slipping. I added every extra silt every time because to create an extra balance and make it more stable. Um, I think that's part of the reason why um, these these branches didn't break while it was burning inside the kiln. Um, so after finishing sculpting, the sculpture was put into the kiln to be burned, and after it got dried from the heat, I chose specific colors that matched the whole theme of um, coldness, and I painted it for the second burn. As for the shape and the color, I think it pretty much represents the shape and the whole um, feeling of my mood. The leafless tree was a perfect form to express my emotion because it symbolizes emptiness. As for the texture, it's it's super smooth, and in that sense, this adds to the element of looking like a cold ice. Biggest inspiration for this organic shape can be in, infer, can be inferred from Henry Moore's concave and convex curves. Um, One thing I want to change about this sculpture is the color. I wish I could have added darker shade at each end point to create a more gradual ombre look. But despite that, I really consider this as my one of my best work because the background research was came out well as I planned, and I think because I followed the plan well, it was successful to express the things I wanted to express. And lastly, from this project, I think I grew a deeper relationship with sculpture because I learned lots of technique to shape my emotion. And I thought creating art outside the just simple materials like canvas gave me the chance to um, explore the material's texture and colors and patterns to evoke emotion out of the viewers. I started this from December 2012 till January 2013. My next artwork is called Color of My Emotion, and this is basically a pen and ink mixed media artwork. All objects and animals are here to symbolize different types of emotion I grew up with. For example, the toy soldier symbolizes my childhood innocence. The angry face express my stress and anger, and all these emotions are supposed to be connected by connect are supposed to be connected because they all form into who I am as a person, and that's why I drew a willow tree with this leaf connecting a lot of the objects because I wanted the tree to symbolize as the root of everything. I was fully influenced to create this artwork from Picasso's technique on uh, his use of colors. During Picasso's blue period, he used lots of cool tone colors to show melancholy mood he felt at that time. Then came the rose period when he used lots of warm colors to express his happiness. And I thought that was a really interesting concept to really show to evoke emotion out of colors. Um, so I took that inspiration and used it for my artwork, and you can see that from a peaceful you can see that from the uh dove, which I colored it with organic colors like green and blue, and I think the use of the natural cool tone colors draw a very peaceful and calm emotion. If I were to change something about this project, I would work on my composition better because the look of the emotion coming out of the willow tree didn't really work as well as I thought. And I think it's mainly because everything is so apart from each other. One thing I learned from this project is that color wasn't really the only element that can be used to portray someone's emotion. but there's other elements like the stroke of the pen. Different lines used in the drawing shows different emotions, making one look softer and harsher. Overall, my artwork shows that the style has been influenced by the expressionation movement, because a lot of the elements like lines, colors, and space were all used to just express who I am. I started this work from January to March 2013. My next work is a wood bird sculpture, and I call this Falling of Hope. Unlike my other projects, this one didn't really follow the workbook trace because I made lots of adjustment to materials as well as the form. But even though like I made these changes, I'm pretty satisfied with my work because it still contained the same motive and the meaning I started with. Like the previous project, this also reveal another facet of my life because the texture, shape, and material symbolize my state of losing hope as a rising senior. The lack of color in the bird seems to emphasize hopelessness in it, and the light color of the feather shows the lightness of the hope. The composition of the sculpture is all balanced on a circle. As you can see from this picture, the circular bottom represent my world. That's why it's really shaped like a round earth. And on top of this circle, there is the main bird, which symbolizes myself, and several feathers trailing away from its back. The falling of the feathers represent how, over the course of time, hope is falling off from me, and due to the lack of feather, I will eventually lack feathers to able to soar to the sky and really reach my goal. The use of authentic feathers and wood blurs the line between reality and abstractism, I thought. Moreover, I think the sculpture well captures the absence of Alexander Calder's wire sculptures. Like my plan, I made a sculpture that consists of empty spaces from the wings, and this really this really is a constituent element of Alexander Calder. Um, Although the meaning behind the sculpture is definitely pessimistic, but I think it's still valuable because it marks a period of my personal struggles. Through the project, I learned the vagueness abstract sculpture gives the room for the viewers to fill the voids with their own creativity and interpret into their own meanings. One thing I would fix about my sculpture is to make the sculpture more stable because the candle stand on the pottery lid is not really well fixed. Um, when I have to display the sculpture for my exhibition, I think I have to take out the sculpture into parts and then place it into a final position. Um, and I started this from March to May 2013. Here are the base. Here are all the artworks I created from year 2012 to 13, and from looking at it far away, I think all my artworks are associated with nature because I feel like my life is like nature. My life fluctuates like weather, grows like plants, and express weakness from coldness. Um, and I feel that nature really captured my emotion well and the states I go through. So I hope I keep this nature theme throughout my throughout my senior year. Like I previously mentioned, all my artwork represent a period of my lifetime and marks a special moments in my life. Either it's optimistic or pessimistic. I think each stage holds a value in my life, and therefore when I have to display my artworks, I would position my artworks in a chronological order of how I became who I am today and possibly in the future. So starting with the cup from the summer vacation, with the struggle of from the with the struggle of educational stress to feeling lonely in winter and mixture of different emotions to finally feeling like I was losing hope. And that's all. Thank you.